From Central Indiana's #1 news source, this is Fox 59 Tonight.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Fox 59 Tonight. I'm Cameron Riddle. Thanks for downloading our new smart TV app on your Roku, Fire TV, and your Apple TV. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss a second of the conversations we have every night right here at 8 o'clock, talking about what's happening everywhere from the White House to your house. Tonight, we'll bring in a friend who has been in your house on your TV screen for years here in Indianapolis, and those of you out in Raleigh know him as well. But he's doing something new. He's done a lot of writing, and I think that writing has caused him to reflect, and that reflect has led to a book. And he does not want you to miss the scriptures. That's the name of his new book. His name is Julian Grace. You recognize that face from Indianapolis TV. Julian, how you doing, man?
Oh, brother, I'm doing so well. Cameron, thanks for having me on. Just your energy and that intro. It got me pumped up, man. I'm ready to take on the day. I'm ready to take on anyone. Tyson, Jordan, Jackson, action.
Action. Look, I gotta say, you unfortunately I did this to somebody else earlier.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? When I was coming up. See, now I'm like a veteran in here, which is weird. But when I was coming up and I was deciding I wanted to be on TV, you were one of the people, of course, that I was watching when you were anchoring the weekend news on Channel 8 down the street. And so there's not that many black anchors and black men who are on TV. And so how do you figure out how you're going to do it and what you want yourself to look like? Is you look at who's there. And at the time it was you. Todd Wallace was on Channel 6. I ended up working at Channel 6. But the list is pretty short. So thank you for being a good role model.
Oh, man, I appreciate that. You know, Cameron, if I was a crier, I would cry right now. But I want to tell a brief story about you.
Okay.
If you clear the floor for a little bit.
Go ahead.
I recall one time being called out to the south side of the city, and it was like I think it was a car crash or a fire. I can't remember exactly what was happening in that particular moment. And I'm out there, and there's a number of reporters and photographers, and we're waiting on the police department to share some information with us about what happened. And then you walked up to me and you asked me a couple of questions. And the questions you asked, you wanted to know when we will be briefed on the scene. And I gave you some information, and then I looked at you and I did a double take. I'm like, wait a minute, this guy looks really, really young. Then I start talking to you, and you had your tripod and you had your camera, and I believe it was either Perry Meridian or Franklin Township. Correct me. Perry Meridian. You were shooting video and doing a news story for Perry Meridian. And I thought to myself, wow, whatever he wants to do, he's going to make it. And you're doing it, brother. I'm just so excited for you. I'm so happy. Every time I see you on the tube, man, I just feel so good. And I think back to that moment about perseverance and putting yourself in the right place at the right time. You didn't wait until you graduated Ball State. You didn't wait until you got on at Radio 1. You just jumped in right away, man. So you are a testament to other aspiring journalists, and I hope they follow your lead.
Thank you, man. Yeah, you remember that. Yeah,
I remember that.
This Perry Meridian. We were over in just on the like Decatur Perry line over there. I think it was a car crash or something. But yep. I didn't remember that until you brought it up. But yeah, I remember that now.
I locked it in. I'm like, what in the world is he doing here? And you were so composed too. That's what threw me off, because it was like you didn't look like this was your first rodeo.
Right. Now when I look, I look around the newsroom. First of all, I didn't even think I'd be here, or let alone doing this show right now. But now I look back and I'm like, okay, I'm not the youngest person in the room anymore, because I always was. I never had problems going into those rooms. I don't ever feel myself aging. Of course, now I have a child, so now I'm starting to kind of feel it. But I do look back and I think like, man, I really was out there. People say, how long you been doing this? Or people, because I'm in my hometown, people like, I remember you doing this so long ago. It's like, actually, yeah, I have been around for a second now. So now I'm starting to age.
Oh no, you look good. You still look
Thank,
good. Still look
thank.
like when I saw you. I don't know how many years ago that was now, but you still look good, brother.
Well, hey, look, man, I appreciate it. You like I said, you've been around because I've watched you. You were at Channel 8, it's Weekend Anchor. You left Channel 8, which was a legacy station, one of the most watched CBS stations in the country, to go to another one of the best stations in the country as an anchor in Raleigh, North Carolina. But I understand your time there has now come to an end, right?
Yeah, yeah. My time there has come to an end about a month ago. I wrapped up a 6 year stint at WRL, which I really, really enjoyed. I enjoyed the people. I enjoyed working there. I enjoyed the newsroom and the management. But sometimes, camera in life, it's an opportunity for you to pause, reset, and decide, hey, let's do something different at this point. And that's where I'm at. I'm looking at the next adventure. What that adventure may entail, I really don't know. But on my heart and in my mind, over and over again, I was hearing to write a book, write a
Mhm.
book. And that's where I am at this point. This is Don't Miss the Scriptures. The book is something that I've been working on for probably the past couple of years, to be honest with you.
What so first, are when you say you're taking a break, are you done with television news?
You know what? I don't want to say I'm done just yet. It has to be the right opportunity. It has to be the space that's right for the family. As you know, Cameron, the time you spent over in Arizona, living in the community, and was it Michigan? You were in
Yep,
Michigan before
yep.
Arizona.
You remember well, man. Yes.
I remember when I say I follow you, brother, I follow you.
I
I'm
appreciate
telling you. But area and community is very important. And when you have children and they're adapted into the environment,
it.
just don't want to pull them out and just go to another situation. So we love it here, we enjoy it here, and prayerfully, this is where we'll stay for a little while.
What made you decide, okay, now you were hearing a voice that said write a book, but what made it become a book about the experiences and stories that you've covered?
Yeah, one of the biggest things I hear from people when I come in contact with them, and you may hear this as well. I know 59 has loyal viewers. The ratings show how supported 59 is in the community. And when you go out in the neighborhoods, I know they're like, hey, you Cameron. And they
Mhm,
want to take a picture with you. They want
mhm,
to talk with you about various stories that you work on. But there's also a segment in our population of viewers that say, I simply cannot watch the news.
mhm,
Appreciate what you do. I appreciate local journalism, but I can't watch the news because of the headlines that hit me each and every day. The death, the destruction, the mayhem, the headlines. I just don't want to see it. And that's why I don't watch the news. And I wrote this book because I want to say now is the time more than ever to watch the news.
mhm,
Because let me say this, we're supposed to identify ourselves as journalists first, but I've
mhm,
always, Cameron, identified myself as a Christian first who just so happens to be a journalist.
mhm,
And because of that, when I encounter viewers who say, I simply cannot watch the news on a consistent basis, I say, now's the time to watch the news because I believe in those 30-minute broadcasts are examples of God's love, his provision, his protection, and even at times, his judgment.
mhm,
And that is why I say watch the news because Cameron, if we never watch the news,
mhm, 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 mhm.
Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, bear one another's burdens and so fulfill the law of Christ. When we watch the news, it gives us the opportunity to be involved with people who are hurting right here in our community.
You've seen a lot over your career, and so I imagine you've got plenty of stories. One, I want to know how many stories do you remember? Because sometimes I will go back and look at stuff on YouTube, and I'm like, I don't remember this story, but obviously I did it. And then there are some that you remember. It feels like it was yesterday. But let's first go back. Let's go back to let's go through your career because I've got a shot of you here.
Uh-oh.
This you way back, Indiana Black Expo. Take us through because now people are like, "Oh yeah, I remember this face."
This picture right here goes back to, I want to say, woo, 94, 95. The late, great Reverend Williams, he started a program called the Youth Video Institute
Mm-hmm.
within the Indiana Black Expo. And it gave high school students the opportunity to put on a television show.
Mm-hmm.
And that television show was orchestrated by Miss Vanessa Amos, who I love so dearly, and Marvin Bardo. Shout out to Bardo. So what they did was they picked teenagers from various high schools, and we came together and we put on a television show. And we would go out and we would interview people in the community, celebrities when they came in town for the Circle City Classic, the Indiana Black Expo. Cameron, they put us up in a hotel for a whole week during the expo and for a weekend for Classic, simply to cover stories.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the part that was the biggest ticker in my mind. I couldn't believe this. Cameron, they were paying us to do this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They were paying us to put on a television show, the Indiana Black Expo, as teenagers. And I remember that.
And you also have to remember what you do remember, but at that time, Expo was one of the hottest things in the country. That was people came in from all across the country, and what I'm hearing is you were treated. It's hard now to get a hotel when we go and cover a story, but they're putting you in a hotel to cover Black Expo.
And it wasn't just a hotel, it was the Hyatt, which was the premier hotel in downtown Indianapolis at the time. I love, Cameron, that you have revisionist history, because when I tell people about the expo and during my time, like, dude, you just don't understand, man. You just don't understand. And I'm glad to see the legacy that continues. But the expo really set that fire off. I had the opportunity to get a good base, because graduating from Arsenal Technical High School, we had a television program, and they were able to work with the Indiana Black Expo to feed students into that television program. And man, I tell you, when I look back on my career, I thank the Lord for the Indiana Black Expo and the opportunities it gave me, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that picture goes back, man. Couldn't tell me.
I mean, you were fresh. You were fresh. It Yes. You have, yeah, is that because it was you got Riz, you got Aura, you got all the new things, you got swag, all the different terms now. But that's where you started. What happened after that?
Indiana Black Expo, I went on to Ball State University, and going to Ball State University, I was really prepared to enter their television program,
Mm-hmm.
because the post-production, the pre-production,
Mm-hmm.
I was already doing
Mm-hmm.
at the Indiana Black Expo, excuse me, and Arsenal Technical High School, Tech High School. So when I stepped on campus, it was like, well, do you know how to edit tape to tape? I'm like, yeah, I know how to do that. Well, we want to teach you, but do you really know how to edit tape to tape? Do you know how to do a voiceover? And I showed them, and they were like, wow. They were really impressed.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to the Indiana Black Expo and Tech High School. So from there at Ball State, I participated in the news program for college students there.
Mm-hmm.
NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists, they had a number of programs for those students who were in college and wanted to pursue. And you know, my mentor, your mentor as well. I think he's like everybody's mentor. Scoop Steve Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
He took me under his wing, and he really coached me. He told me things I didn't want to hear, but I needed to hear. Because, you know, sometimes, Cameron, there's a lot of people that will tell you what you want to hear.
Yes.
But there's not a lot of people that will tell you what you need to hear. And he would tell me what I needed to hear time and time again. And that prepared me to make a resume tape to send out to places across the country to hopefully get my first television job in TV.
Well, again, mentors, especially there are not a lot of Black male journalists.
Yeah, it's not.
And it is when you look around the room and you try to figure out how am I going to figure my way through here, your experience is very unique. And so if you have a good mentor, if you have a scoop, somebody around to guide you through that, it really makes a difference because they've been in your shoes and can actually relate.
Absolutely. You stated that perfectly. And I know I can see it in your eyes, Cameron, that there are students that are reaching out to you and you're mentoring them and you're showing them the way and you're telling them not what they want to hear all the times, but what they
Mm-hmm.
need to hear.
Mm-hmm. So you went to Wish TV, with
It's TV.
the legendary legacy, most watched, top rated CBS station in the country. Um, and I remember when you left how big of a deal it was, and that's because of how many people you touched with your storytelling. I was talking to somebody when I've done some shows in here where I bring in some of the anchors and reporters, and try to ask them like, what do you define yourself as? Like some people
Mhm.
are journalists, and I think of journalists as people who are good at digging for things. Um, Reporters are great, and we use these interchangeably, but if I say a reporter is great at hearing something, turning it right around and being able to interpret it and re-explain it, like they're quick.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there are storytellers who are able to take something that maybe doesn't even have to be all that interesting, or something that people would overlook to be not interesting, but if you tell their story in a certain way, you're like, "Hey, wow, I never thought about that." And you, my friend, to me, are one of the best storytellers that I had
Um,
seen here in Indianapolis. Just the passion in your voice. What also stood out to me about you was, um, you said earlier that you're a Christian who happens to be a journalist, and
right.
I know there's a lot of journalists who want to be they try to be removed, like a step removed from the community.
Right. Absolutely.
But I can tell you that that's not me,
Mhm.
because I feel like I know everybody. Like I want to know everybody,
I know you do.
and that was something that I could tell from how you worked, how close knit you were with people, and that's why they were willing to let you tell their story, because they trusted you, because they knew you, because I think even to them, you probably treated them as I do. I treat you. I'm just a person first, and I
Right.
happen to
Right.
be on TV, but I live in this community. I grew up
Yes.
here. I can't remove that portion and just stand to the side and just report on something. But I say all that to say that was something that I felt like I got permission to do from watching how you did it.
Oh, wow. Glory be to God that you even feel that way. I appreciate that, Brother Cameron. I think that's one of the biggest compliments I've received this month. And I just thank you for sharing that with
Yeah.
me. I will say this, you know this, Cameron. When I was in Indy, I covered the crime beat for a couple of years, which was
Mhm.
really tough. And I know you've covered crime, and you
Mhm.
go out into these communities and you speak to these people who are hurting. I mean, really, really hurting, and they want to share their story, but they're afraid to.
Mhm.
And when that happens, it humanizes the individual because at the end of the day, Cameron, you and I, we do the stories and then we go home. We
Mhm.
go back to wherever we live, we go back to our life, but they stay in it and they stay in that community and they have to deal with the repercussions of speaking possibly to a journalist like
Mhm.
yourself.
Mhm.
So knowing that and being entrusted with that information, I always wanted to ensure that I was protecting them if they decided they wanted to speak and not pressuring them.
Mhm.
But if they wanted to speak, my prayer was always and consistently after making mistakes is, Lord, let me be able to tell this story in a way that they want it to
Mhm.
be articulated and not
Mhm.
the way I want it to be articulated. Let me allow them to state their facts and their position.
Mhm.
And when you give people the opportunity to feel like they're just talking to you
Mhm.
and we're not reporting a story, I've always found it amazing the amount of information and jewels that you can
Mhm.
pull out of people and
Mhm.
just letting those stories breathe.
Mhm. Because if you just let people talk, if I give you
Mhm.
the floor, and if I'm listening to what you say, um, That's how you find the best information. Because if I go in just with a list of questions, then I'm just going in, yeah, I'm gonna get my questions answered, but
Right.
I'm missing the part that I didn't know about because you're not listening.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes you will find that your questions were legitimate, but they have information that surpasses your
Mm-hmm.
imagination on what to even ask.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Julian, hey, look, let's take a quick break real quick.
Yeah,
And then we're going
absolutely.
to come back because I want to get into um, the stories and how it was determined that let me write a book about these experiences. Because as
Mm,
you said, we do these stories and then we go home. And a lot of stories we probably try to forget. I know there are some scenes that I don't want to remember that I was at, but obviously something was lingering with you, and I want to know more about that. Take a
absolutely. Look into it.
quick commercial break. More of Fox 59 tonight coming up after this.